What's up, everyone? Welcome to the podcast, a show dedicated to talking about all the poggers things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. I am one of your co-hosts, JesseKazam.
And I had maybe the darkest dream I've ever had in my entire life last night.
Oh, no.
I streamed for 14 hours yesterday.
Oh, no.
And ended up going to bed real late. And I don't know if in like my fever dream state, but it's the darkest dream probably ever. I had basically a physical, actual, literal manifestation of, and this is, you might not be aware, this is a throwback. I'm not sure if you're at the threshold or not, age-wise.
Okay.
I had a physical manifestation of Clippy.
Yeah, like Microsoft Word Clippy? Oh,
the
God.
fucking paper clip. Like, hello, you want a tip?
Oh, God.
And what I did, like, you know how dreams don't make sense? Like, you
Of
can't
course.
provide, like, a narrative. They may as well just be, like, images,
Of
like
course.
a slideshow. Basically, I had Clippy, and I took him and I paper clipped, like, a stack of papers.
Okay.
And then I put it in a manila folder in a filing cabinet, and I just let it be there forever.
You just left Clippy to live in, like,
to just sit
essentially
in dark,
eternal
darkness.
torment. Damn. Or is it the opposite? You know, all he ever wanted to do was hold some papers together. And you gave him that gift, secure, away from harm and danger. I mean, I'm just trying to flip it.
Pretty sure he wanted to, like, give us fucking pro tips.
That's true.
Like,
yeah, he did want to give us fun facts about
97.
Microsoft Word.
But can you just imagine? Like, that is the worst imaginable.
You're definitely not wrong.
And you know what? Actually, I started to, like, put together. I, like, started to dip my toe in, and then I pulled it out. I'm like, no, not now. Maybe at some point I'll make this video. This idea that I had. That's effectively, it's the most Jacob Geller ass video I could possibly make. Which is, think about what I just described about the Clippy experience.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And kind of that, like, sort of existential dread. There's honestly a bit of cosmic horror in the idea of an eternity in a void. But basically, and actually that would be the fantastic title for the video, my Jacob Geller ass video.
My
like
Jacob.
The eternity of the void or something.
Yeah.
But it was, you know how what he does is he talks about a concept, but, like, applies it to, like, 3 movies and 2 video games.
Yeah.
It would basically be like my favorite short story ever, The Jaunt by Stephen King, which you can read online. It's like 10 pages long. You should read it. If I could imagine the worst possible thing you could experience overall, it would be what's described in this book. And it's not like a horror slasher, whatever, you know. Okay, so that plus what makes the Outer Wilds story so incredible, plus what makes the No Man's Sky story so incredible and all the lore behind that. And there was a couple other things that, like, all these connections I was making between these things that, like, I want to talk about.
That would be amazing. I'm in.
Yeah. But now it's a true crime. I'm a Veritas crime. Veritas true. I came up with this earlier, that I put the truth in true crime.
Oh, I see what you did there, Veritas. I put the truth in true crime. I just looked up Jacob Geller because, like, you said that, and I was like, oh, I haven't checked him out in a while. And his most recent video was called "Nothing Ever Stops Existing." I love his videos, dude.
Did I watch that one?
I
know who came out with a video recently? Yep, I watched precisely 24 minutes of the 41-minute video. That's when I was in Washington. Actually, I watched it in the shower. You know, because I you always got to figure out a way to like put my laptop up on like
Yeah,
the fucking
yeah.
sink or something so that you can like look through the shower while you're, because I can't have any moments to myself where I'm not consuming content and my brain isn't eternally stimulated. But anyway, I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, Every Frame of Painting came out with their first
He came
video in
back.
like 37 years.
Dude, yes, I saw the video.
It was super short.
Yeah.
Still very good.
I refreshed my YouTube homepage and I saw Every Frame of Painting posted 14 minutes ago. I was like, what? So I went to his channel before I even clicked on it. I went to his channel and I went to recent videos, and it was 7 years since he posted like a real actual video. I was like,
been that long?
Oh my God. And I like, of course I watched the video and it was great. And then I went back to the comments and all the comments were like, we are so back, baby. Like, it was so great.
It was only 5 minutes long. Oh, it's so painful when I see a video that I know is going to be incredible and it's like 7 minutes long. It's like,
I'm so used to the 2-hour binge now that
7 minutes. It's like not even enough time. Like I want to be able to put a video on, and I want to be able to go like shower, make lunch, all with it like in the next room, and I'm missing it, and still be like totally coherent.
Yes. Yep.
I don't want to have it be 3 videos into the autoplay.
Exactly.
By
Yeah.
the time I come into the
I'm
next
with
room.
you. I'm with you. I saw, dude, speaking of you having to put content on in the shower, I saw this clip of this dude. He was playing CSGO. And I don't know how he did it because I don't know how CS works, but he pulled up the command line and he was like, this crosshair is really not working for me, chat. I need a new crosshair, like an in-game crosshair. And he pulled up the command line and it was like execute like brain rot. And it was this super thick. I mean, it was like a crosshair. So, two top, two on the side, but they were super thick, like way thick. And in each of them was a different video playing. So the 2 top ones were vertical stuff like Subway Surfers and like TikToks. And then on the 2 horizontal one, it was like a Family Guy episode and a Bob Ross thing. And it was like, he called it the brain rot crosshair. And it was just like 4 different videos. And he was playing CSGO with it. It was so funny. Yeah, very internet.
My God, dude. I just got, literally, I was about to pull something up, but now I'm pivoting because I just got a response back
from Lenny Bong
from somebody I reached out to. I would want to read this message because I asked somebody who is effectively like an expert witness in the Karen Reed trial.
Oh,
if they would want to talk to me. I'm not. Oh, okay. It said I'm not, and then it was like line
you gotta
break.
go. Yep.
I'm not interested in speaking, but speaking publicly about cases that are still ongoing is alien to me, and I'd prefer to know what's coming next with the case before it's okay.
This is breaking news.
So, I actually, and this will be the last thing before we can get to all the Tarky stuff, but I think did I tell you about like the late night, early morning Google search that was like one of the most damning pieces of evidence?
It was the how long to die in cold.
How long to die in cold.
Long to die in cold, yeah.
At like 2:30 in the morning, right? So basically,
and then again later
at like midnight, the guy was basically put down on the ground, either ran over by a car or beat up inside the house or whatever, right? And then it wasn't until like, and I'm rounding the times here, it wasn't until like 6 in the morning that they were driving around and they find him on the front lawn. So allegedly, nobody knew where he was for those 6 hours except one of the people who was in the house. That's like the brother-in-law or sister-in-law of a cop.
Yeah.
Who was there that night, Googled at like 2:30, how long to die in the cold. And then at like 6, and from like the cell phone extraction, it was showed as deleted. And then at like 6:30 in the morning, which was when like they would have been like the paramedics would have been there, and she's freaking out like, is he dead? Is he dead? What she alleges is there's also like 2 or 3 other Google searches that are multiple other misspellings of how long to die in the cold, because ostensibly she's either shaking or shivering while trying to type on her phone in the middle of a blizzard. It was like 15 degrees outside.
Yeah.
So what she was saying was, I didn't Google it at 2:30. I Googled it at 6:30 because that's when Karen told me the defendant told me to Google it, because she's like, how long Google this? How long is it going to die? In the cold, because I want to know if he's like alive or not.
Yeah.
And the expert witness for the prosecution basically said, I know what it looks like, but the phone is showing the wrong time for that 2:30 Google search or whatever. And it was actually like the 6:30 Google search that where the time was just like inaccurately
displayed,
which is like, my dog ate my homework. The car broke down on the way. And after like skimming through most of it in court and everything, I was like, yeah, okay, bullshit. Well, I came across a blog post that same expert had written. Now, this expert, he's not someone that I would think is like really like willing to lie for the cops. He's like from the UK, like completely unrelated.
Yeah, he has got no skin in the game.
I'm gonna give my analysis. It is what it is. I don't think he gives a fuck either way.
Yeah.
But after reading, he did a blog post before he testified about the relevant factors here, about like the database that has the timestamp.
Okay.
And the associated Google searches.
Yeah.
And after reading it, I totally believe him. And I totally believe that's what happened.
Interesting.
That basically, so what happens, and because what he did was he replicated the behavior with multiple versions of iOS, but effectively, if you go to Safari, and I was on Twitter, like, anyone work for Apple?
I saw that. Yeah.
Like, just because I want to know if like someone can just like sanity check. There's no chance I'm going to get an answer back from anybody, but long shot. But if you open up a tab in Safari, okay, and let's say you Google, 1, 2, 3 at, let's just say 1 p.m.
Okay.
You'll see last view time 1 p.m. and you'd see the associated Google search of 1, 2, 3. Then let's say you wait 5 minutes.
Okay.
And you Google search 4, 5, 6. It would be at 1:05 you did 4, 5, 6, and the last view time would be 1 p.m.
Oh.
And then if you background the app, don't kill it, don't force close it. But like just put it in the background, come back the next day, open the app up. It hasn't been killed by the process is still running, it's just been suspended. And you open up that tab and you Google how long to die in the cold, it'll say yesterday at 1 p.m. was the last viewed time.
Interesting.
Because this just goes to show how what we're looking at is like some deep down fucking very specific technical stuff. It's like the browser state.db wall file from a cached thing that like it's not meant to be.
Yeah.
But so what you're dealing with is like some program's extraction and printing out of the data, and then your interpretation of what the variables mean.
Yeah.
So, and if you've been a software engineer, you would know that variable names are sometimes descriptors of what the variable is, sometimes kind of adjacent to what it is, and other times completely and utterly ambiguous.
Okay. Interesting.
Like how many fucking variables I see are just called foo.
Foo,
yeah, like foo bar.
Yeah.
Foo bar baz. It's like this weird thing where anyone who's like over 60 and is a programmer always refers to everything as like foo, bar, or baz. Like those are like the three variables. Anyway, or maybe it's just my dad. I don't know. But so at some point they probably created a field in the database called last viewed time.
Yeah.
And then like over the course of like a decade,
the
behavior of what that variable meant and what it probably
understood.
if there's like logic that sets that value, there might be 5 or 6 different if statements around like if you created a new tab, but the session isn't new, but it's a brand new thing, and the program just started and whatever, and all of that logic, you can't represent complex logic with a single variable name.
Yeah.
Now, some of this comes down to good programming practices and whatever, and I'd argue that this is an example of a bad programming practice, but basically they just assumed that last view time was like the time of whatever the associated
time.
searches.
Yeah.
And it seems as if it's not. It's more of a when was like the tab session started?
Yeah.
Since the last time
she
the app
opened
was
that
launched.
tab and Googled, best fried chicken recipe, and then used that same tab to Google how long to die in the cold, and it pulled back to.
And she had at 2:30. She was supposedly home at that point. She had multiple Google searches that were like almost at the exact same time that were related to like hockey, like local kids hockey standings.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
So she probably just opened up Safari. The thing from the night before was the active tab, and she searched.
Gotcha.
So now here's the thing.
Interesting.
That completely changes my like entire theory of the case. And this is going to be like, this is actually super important, I feel like, for the narrative, because it changes it entirely to something much more reasonable, plausible, and less nefarious. Because if she Googles how long to die in the cold, that means multiple people knew he was dying, wanted him to die, did nothing about it. It was like an intentional
There's a
murder.
Huge like barrier you cross when you know someone is dying and you're choosing not to do something about it. And you're wondering how long until it's all over. How long to die in the cold. Yeah.
And that was the biggest piece. Now, of course, there's also like a bunch of butt dials between like suspects and whatever at that same time and all this other stuff. So there's more to it.
Yeah.
But that's the one piece that's like the damning,
of course,
drop the mic kind of thing.
Yeah.
That even though I think she's innocent, I want to be like, but I don't want people to be right for the wrong reasons.
Yes,
right?
Of course.
If you hinge your whole case on how long to die in the cold, and that's why she's innocent, and then someone actually comes up with a convincing, compelling argument, your whole thing crumbles. So it needs to be based on.
And then you're put in a position where you feel like you have to defend the wrong thing to get the right result. It's like you really believe she's innocent, but if you made your whole case about that, you're in this weird position where you're kind of doing the wrong thing and pushing back on compelling evidence. It's like you want it to be less shaky of a case.
It's funny you say that, because that is what I think is the reasonable explanation for like the flip side of things. So let me just quickly explain. If you imagine a scenario where she drops him off at this house with a bunch of cops who they were all hanging out that night. They weren't like necessarily best friends, but they were all friendly, had great relationships. They literally were partying all night at bars.
Yeah.
They were coworkers, how he would just walk into the house within 20 minutes, he would be like basically beaten to death and then left out to die on purpose. That's like a complete, and there's like 15 people in the house. A bunch of them were like kids, I say kids, like between like 18 and 22-ish.
Okay.
There was like 15 people total. And none of them say, they all say he never set foot in the house. He never set foot in the house. He was never here, which is why they say that she, he got out of the car, she ran him over basically and then left the scene. And he never walked in the house. He was dead on the side of the road. It just becomes really hard to think, like, why would they have wanted to do that to him? Why would they be okay with letting him die? Like, they might be scumbags, but like that's another level, right?
Sure,
like that's like sociopathic. It's just so hard to believe but that's like the kind of the narrative. Now, my version of the story, I think, is far more real.
Yeah.
It's a lot more messy and chaotic, but it's real.
Yeah.
Now, when you see in the security camera footage, her and John the entire night were all lovey-dovey.
Yeah,
everyone that night commented how lovey-dovey. But what we also have is she dropped him off allegedly, her side of the story is she dropped him off at like midnight, and she left and basically like instantly called him 60 times that night, leaving him a bunch of voicemails saying, I fucking hate you. Like, she called him a pervert, which I don't know what that was all about, but it's like she was flipping the fuck out. She was basically like trying to get him to come home, and she was like pissed at him. So clearly something happened.
Yeah, some sort of disconnect there.
Now, one of the things is that one of the guys there, that it's a part of the little crew in the house, was an ATF agent that she had kissed.
Yes,
that she was like flirting with,
over
kind of
text.
You could say cheating.
Yeah.
And he was there that night. He was getting ghosted by her. He was texting her like, hello, like, are you going to pay attention to me? And also, I was reading through a bunch of things. She actually even admitted to him that John, the victim, was kind of like, are you fucking this guy? Like, are you?
Yeah.
And she was like, no, whatever. But like, so that was already on the table as being something discussed.
Yeah. Okay.
So my guess is they probably got in the car. He was probably like, oh, did you talk to Brian at all or whatever tonight? And she was like, oh my God, they probably got in a fight.
Yep.
They're hammered. I mean, they were both hammered.
Yeah.
Like her BAC was like triple the legal limit or something based on extrapolation.
Yeah.
Because it was like 0.08 something at like, 8 hours later or whatever.
Yeah.
I forget what the numbers are, but she was definitely drunk. Everyone was drunk. So he probably got out, pissed off, went inside, and now it's possible that I have this thing that right now has no evidence, but it would make everything even cleaner, is if somehow he went either like around the back or like, because there's a side bulkhead.
Okay.
How he somehow got into the house in the basement or never went in, and like maybe this thing happened in the backyard. Like I was like, do they have a fire pit? Like something. But let's say he goes into the house, and let's say the music's playing in the kitchen, all the kids are there, no one sees that the guy goes in.
No
and
one really
they all go
notices.
Downstairs.
Yeah,
they all go downstairs into the basement where there's like kind of a little weight room and whatever, and they're like chilling down there. Maybe he accosts the ATF guy and is like, are you fucking my girlfriend? Whatever. They end up, it gets heated, they're hammered. They end up getting in a fight. Maybe one of them grabs a fucking dumbbell and smashes him over the head because he had what looks like a fucking blunt force. To his head. And black eyes, busted, cheek, busted eyebrow. It looked like he got the shit kicked out of him. Not that he got hit by a car. And also dog bite scratches on his arm. So the dog probably saw the fight. They were probably wrestling. The dog got involved because he was a German Shepherd.
Yep.
So that has a history of biting.
Classic.
And they probably tuned him up, didn't realize how serious it was.
Yeah.
Chucked him outside on the front lawn, and then just left him there, and everybody went home.
Yep.
Having it be like, we beat you up, we left you there, you're going to wake up, you're going to stumble home.
Yep.
But then they find out, so like almost everyone in the house, no one knows what happened because they could have just brought him up through the bulkhead, because you go out the bulkhead, you take a left, you go out the fence, and that's right where like the flagpole is on the road.
Yeah.
So they just went out, chucked them, went back in.
Yeah.
And then left them there. So none of the people in the house knew what happened. So that means like 8 less people have to be lying.
Oh, yeah.
Like the smaller a conspiracy gets, the more plausible it gets.
For sure.
Right? For sure. Which is why we know the Earth isn't flat, because like 10 million people would need to be in on it, right? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Among other things. So, and then at that point, it then becomes oh, fuck. Imagine 2 or 3 friends, you find out like there's this terrible accident that happened.
Yeah.
It was unintentional. We're family and friends. We're gonna figure out a way to cover our asses.
Yep.
And maybe they even say this all happened because Karen was cheating on her boyfriend. So it's her fault.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's her fault this all happened. And it's really easy for people to justify it like it's all her fault. Okay.
Yeah. Well, especially when it's that serious. If you accidentally committed a crime, you know what I mean? Your brain can really easily like retroactively justify something else.
And then after that, all it takes is for the natural, like, they're a friend of a friend, they're a police officer, they're whatever. So naturally I'm going to do the little things here or there to go out of my way to kind of help, right? You know, like one of the examples I gave yesterday when I was talking about it was if there was like a big bar fight that went down and like a police officer responded, right?
Yep.
And there was 20 witnesses and also their buddy who is like their partner.
Yep.
They're going to take witness statements and they're just going to leave out the fact that their partner who had nothing to do with it, because it's like then they're going to have to go in for questioning. They just want to go home. Like, you're just going to leave them out.
Yep.
It's like kind of reasonable that, you know, but like, so people will help each other out. They'll do that kind of thing. That coupled with what I think are the super shitty, corrupt state troopers who were the ones that I believe that they believe that the like three people, probably there's like three people that would have known what happened. They probably believed them that they didn't do it. And they probably believed that, oh, Karen must have hit him with the car. So then what they say is, I know she's guilty, but man, there's not a whole lot of evidence.
Let's just make this easy.
So I'm going to make it cut and dry. Just like you said, they don't think they're not framing her because she's guilty. You frame someone who's not guilty. I'm just going to.
It's like these people know what happened. These people tell these people. These other people don't have any reason to doubt the original people. So they're operating under the 100% assumption she did it. Let's just make this easy and clean.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now it's not a conspiracy of 40 people to frame someone for murder. It's three. It's literally like a guy, his best friend, and his sister-in-law, who's like her best friend, right? That they're really the ones that are just watching out for themselves for an accident that now we can't take it back.
It's easier to believe than 15 or 30 or 40 people in a conspiracy. It's easy to believe a few people messed up and are trying to cover themselves, and some other shitty cops were willing to do some shitty things because they believed their friends were innocent. You know what I mean? Like, that's such an easier to believe version than like a giant web of conspiracies specifically to frame this one person. Yeah.
I think we can probably all think of a situation where we've like told a lie to try to convince someone of something that was true.
Yes.
You know, like,
yes.
Whatever the reason was, you might have had a good reason for that. You like didn't, you know, for why you were late to class and didn't have your homework or whatever. Yeah. So in order to make it like more reasonable and believable, you'll say I got pulled over and whatever, right? Yeah. Like when it didn't really happen. That's a lot easier than like this person's a pathological liar and a sociopath, you know? Yeah. So now it's like,
it's fascinating.
I'm seeing everything through that lens and everything's making a lot more sense. And this is what I think is like an objective look at the facts. Yeah. Because it's really hard for, you know, you want to say, of course she Googled it at 2:30 because it's such a damning thing. And the technical evidence is so niche that someone who has 10 years of iOS developer experience can look at and go, oh shit, that's actually...
Yeah, you can at the very least be like, that is a plausible other explanation. And if another plausible explanation enters the chat, then you can't just be like, well, this one fits better, so I'm going to believe this. You kind of have to be like, well, we have to chase them both down at this point. You know what I mean? Yeah.
At first, when I was like convinced of that, I'm like, oh my God, like, does the whole thing crumble? Like, this is bad. Like, that doesn't look good for her. And then I realized, like, it really doesn't change anything other than it makes it actually more plausible. Like, it's actually better for her, I think.
Yeah. Because, at the end of the day, the real story is the best way to get Karen off of the charges, right? Like, it's not the defense's job to create, I guess, like this crazy story. It's like, just to get to the truth. If you really didn't do it, then there's a truth out there, and that truth will...
Yeah, and I mean, the key is like, it's any and all reasonable doubt, really. Yeah. Like, in my opinion, the defense should, if they end up going to trial again, should basically like, you know, I'm not a lawyer, so I mean, I shouldn't be saying what they should do, but like, if I was on the jury, I would be more likely to be like, there's a lot more reasonable doubt when it's she did it or these people did it, and they both did it on purpose. To now, it's like, now it's either she did it on purpose or maybe it was an accident and she didn't know. Maybe because what she thought was maybe he got out of the car and she hit him.
Yeah.
And didn't know.
Yep.
Although his injuries look nothing like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, and then the alternative is, and then there was a fight between people who had motives. They were wasted.
And we're drunk.
Boston cops who brawl, who have histories of fistfights and boxing and whatever.
Yep.
And like a dude, like, is there ever more of a motive for a fight than like the age old you're trying to get my girl? That's the age old
100%. That was the first fist fight. Like, you know what I mean? Happened about
the
that.
First fist fight was between John. Was it John going to Mary, being like, "You're pregnant"?
Oh yeah, Joseph.
What the fuck? Joseph. Yeah, Joseph being like, "You're pregnant," and she's like, "I swear."
I swear to God.
he's looking over at like the one who tills their fucking fields or whatever, and the guy's like, "Oh, it wasn't me," and that guy got knocked out.
Yeah, I love it, dude. I'm excited for the video.
That's that.
It really is a super interesting case, especially since that's like ongoing. I mean, it's like ongoing, but not. It got thrown out, but then it could come back. It's like it's basically.
I mean, they said that they want to
retry. Okay.
Yeah, and she's actually right now being sued, as well as multiple bars for wrongful death by the family.
Oh,
so that's like a civil thing now that so that's like,
dude, what a
that's
mess.
A whole other.
What a mess, dude. That's crazy.
It's wild.
Oof. Well, in the Tarkov space, I've been we just been grinding the wipe, same old. It's been.
What level are you right now?
37, almost 38. You know what's funny though, dude, is that like, so I have played probably 15 to 18 hours of Arena.
Really?
Yes, since the wipe. Now, if you had asked me, dude, and it's so funny because people were coming into chat when I was playing Arena the other day and being like, I thought you said you weren't going to play Arena, because I got asked this question a million times leading up to the wipe, because this was the first wipe where the connection between the two games was like still was there. And so I was asked a million times. People were like, "Are you going to play Arena to grind XP? Are you going to play Arena?" And I was, every time, it was such a visceral, like, hell no, dude, Arena, no way. And so people have been popping in and seeing me playing, me like, "Dude, I thought you weren't." And I'm like, "Dude, it's fun." So it's crazy.
What have you been playing primarily for a game mode?
Last Hero or Blast Gang. Which is also funny because I told you about my Blast Gang experience and I was like, I hate it. That's so dumb. Search and destroy.
CS:GO, right?
Yeah, CSGO. Like, I'm so bad at it. I'm never going to touch that again. And I've ended up playing the most of that. And that was because the very next time I played Arena, we had a 5-stack of friends. It was like me and Airwing and then like 3 of my mods. And that completely changes the experience versus me and Velian, squad filling.
Yep.
With 3 randoms. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Arena people, I believe last wipe, Blast Gang was only in ranked, but this wipe, you can play unranked Blast Gang. So the first night I played Arena post wipe, I played Blast Gang all night unranked with a 5-stack. And I like started to understand the gameplay loop a lot better, learned the maps, because I told you that like they changed the maps for Blast Gang to make them better. So like that helped me kind of get a grip on what the game mode is about. But yeah, so like I would have never thought. It's a combination of a bunch of things. Like, I care the least about the Tarkov wipe, this wipe, than I ever have. Like normally I am viscerally addicted. Like I have to get to max traders. Like I have to be questing. I get frustrated even if we're playing like 2 or 3 days after a wipe and, one of my teammates has a quest on a map that I don't have any quests. I get mad that we're like playing that map because I'm not progressing. That's normally how I am. But this wipe, it was like, I knew there's no way I was going for Kappa. I'm not even going to be questing much past max traders. And so I just was kind of like, I was just doing the thing, getting max traders is like the big thing. But then it was like everybody started talking about how much money they were making in Arena and getting the GP coins. And like I opened up Arena because you start Arena with like 2 million rubles and 100 GP coins. So I opened up Arena to like send some money over and to send the GP coins over because you can like barter for good stuff from ref. And then I looked at my dailies and weeklies, and then I was like, ooh, this is exactly how it happened. My first weekly of the wipe in Arena gave me one of the Lega coins, and those are harder to get. And those Lega coins barter for really good keys from ref in Tarkov. And so in the back of my head, I was like, maybe I'll just try and do this weekly because then in Tarkov, I'll, I get this key and I'll be able to get some loot. Yeah. And it was like so funny because it worked. Like what Arena is trying to do, which is convince me to play Arena, finally worked. But it wouldn't have worked if this patch hadn't come. You know what I mean? With all the stuff. So we talked about the patch notes last week, but I hadn't really played any Arena at that point. I played one game while Tarkov was down. I played one free-for-all game. And we talked about that last week. But man,
and everybody's been coming into my stream because I mentioned I think I said like I think I'm gonna play Arena.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, did you play? Play? And I answered it 8 million times, and I'm like, got to the point where I'm like, I'm gonna talk about it on the podcast. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll talk about that after.
And so, well, it's just like, okay, so like I know a lot of people, a lot of viewers, a lot of the community were really startled by the 180. Like a lot of people, including myself, like, I mean, we shitted on Arena at length, many episodes in a row. You know what I mean? It's like my views on Arena were very clear. And so were a lot of people's. And so for people to be having fun playing, a lot of the community members were like, what the heck? Like, how could those changes have made such a difference? And so I get it. Also, like I was saying, the audio and the netcode are just as bad, but in the most recent podcast we talked about Arena, I had distilled it down to like the biggest things for me were the player agency. It was like having no control over the gear that I use. And they completely flipped that on its head. The preset system is it's way better than I thought it would be. It's like way more fleshed out than I thought it would be. The leveling of the guns is really cool. Like Valiant,
it's a hybrid of what I wanted and what you wanted. Because you had talked about like the COD progression kind of like thing, and I had talked about like what would be the dream, basically saying what they'll never do. Yeah, the right way to do it is to like give some amount of like score value to the different things. Yep. And basically balance it such that if you're going to choose really good armor and a really good helmet,
you can't have really good ammo.
A lot for a million really good bullets or attachments or whatever, and that's exactly what they did.
Exactly what they did. And so like you said, it's exactly right. It's like it was like the best of both worlds. And that coupled with the linking to a Tarkov, the fact that like you don't feel like you're losing progress by playing the other game. I'm gaining XP, I'm gaining money, and I'm even gaining rep for ref, which actually has implications in Tarkov. So the like wombo combo of you're not feeling like you're falling behind in Tarkov because you are progressing, and there's such a compelling reason to keep playing. Ooh, I'm almost level 7 with the AUG. When I get level 7, I get this suppressor and the recoil feels better. Or I get this optic and I like that dot way better than this one. That plus I found it to be way more fun than I thought it would be to mess around in the kit preset and be like, oh, like I can't have 3 mags and this armor. Like the amount of stuff that's already in there where it's like, take out the back plate. People, that's the meta right now, is take out your back plate. Because
I ended up I had like a class 5 right plate, and I'm like, I gotta protect, or no, on the left plate, I'm like, gotta protect the spleen.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
On the right plate, I had nothing on the right side, and I'm like, that allows me to have like class 5 all around.
Dude, 100%.
All around.
Taking out, like, I had kits where I had like 1 in the gun and 3 extra mags, and I was over the gear score. If I took the bullets out of the 3rd mag, and basically if I only loaded that last mag with 27 bullets as opposed to 30, I hit it. And so It was like I had 3 full mags and 1 that was 27 out of 30. And then you have the differences between Enforcer, Scout, Assault, and Marksman. Those are the 4 classes. Each of those are weighted different on the MP score. Like an Enforcer, none of the guns have the best ammo, but you can get class 6 armor and you can get face shields. You can't get face shields on Scout. On Marksman, you can get Voodoos and Tangos and Razors, but you can't get helmets a lot of time. And so then there's that. And then one further layer from that is I found you are afforded the ability to make separate presets for Last Hero. Last Hero is the free-for-all mode. In Last Hero, you only live 8 seconds and everyone's on painkillers. So if you take off a bunch of your meds, you can maybe up your ammo or grab 1 more mag and then save that as a version of your favorite kit just for Last Hero. So,
yeah, because like there were so many, when I played Last Hero, you know, sometimes I'd get 3 or 4, 5 kills in a row, but most part it's like I get a kill, I die.
Yeah.
I die, I get a kill. I get a kill, I die.
Yep.
I die, I get a kill, right? So if at any point I have a heavy bleed, I'm not gonna fucking
No.
I'm not fixing this bleed.
I'm going to die in 3 seconds anyway. Yeah. So there's like so many more layers than I thought. It's fun just messing around with the kit itself and figuring out what guns and ammo you can do. It's fun to mess around with those kits in the different presets, in the different classes. And then it's fun to mess around with those kits in the different classes, in the different game modes. Yeah. So it's just so much more compelling than I even thought it would be. And it was my number 1 gripe with Arena, sans audio and netcode. And then on top of that, they layered in the Call of Duty style weapon progression individually. And it's great. It's just, and then the connection to Tarkov, it's so much more compelling to play. It's so much more compelling to play. And like, ooh, I want 1 more because then I can get my daily done. 1 more and I can get my weekly done. I can get the rare equipment cases or whatever. It's so much more compelling to play. So we played like a little bit on day 1 because Tarkov was down. Then we played a little bit on Sunday night because I wanted to get my dailies done. And then drops ended Wednesday and drops started for Arena on Wednesday. So I was like, okay, well, let's do a little bit of Tarkov Arena in the morning for drops. But then we ended up playing all day yesterday on Arena. And so it just like, I'm so happy. Like I know there were several people that came into the chat and I genuinely wasn't even really mad at them because I know how the internet works and I know how viscerally I hated Arena. That, you know, people who are just like, oh, flipping your opinion for the views or whatever. And I really wasn't even mad. I get it. I was so hard on Arena, but at the end of the day, isn't that why we're hard on Arena, right? Because we want the game to be fun, and they made it fun. This was like their 3rd attempt because I don't remember how Arena launched, but it was like, you had to unlock all the kits and then they redid the whole thing and made it the tier system. Mm-hmm. And then they got rid of tier 1 and then they got rid of tier 2. And then this is them getting rid of the tier system. So this is the 2nd or 3rd time they've completely redesigned progression.
This is like V3 or V4.
But they just listened. They were just like, here's 300,000 people that bought this game and they all say the same thing. Let's do that. And they did that. And it's so fun. It's so compelling to play. And you absolutely get the same shit though, right? Like the netcode, I've seen some crazy weird bugs in Arena. You know, like screen tearing, where like your whole screen just like tears, like as it's whatever. I've had that happen, but just to the enemy player. Like they almost split into two people and they're like connected with these horizontal lines, but it's not the rest of the screen, just the enemy player. Like I've had.
I would love to know what their hitbox is
Yeah,
doing at
I've
that
had some
point.
super weird stuff. Sound, garbo, right? It's crazy. But I just couldn't believe how well they executed on what they changed. It's not a perfect game. It needs more change. I still think they're missing out on a lot of potential that I hope they basically just snowball the positive vibes they have right now into. Not a perfect game, but I was just like, we meme all the time about like how positive we were that BSG is basically incapable of taking feedback and then making elegant solutions around that feedback. And it seems like they kind of nailed it. So
It's
awesome.
This is just one of those, like a clear-cut example of the few times, like this is like my story in a nutshell that I've beaten to death a million times and I'm sick of even saying, and it's like what people hate me saying, but like I've been saying, here's my opinion about what you need to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, everyone's like, you're just a streamer. They need to not listen to streamers. Although it was always like from an engineer and a UX,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to say expert, but like, you know, someone who has extensive professional experience doing this kind of stuff, and also a lifelong gamer.
Yeah.
You know, these are my kind of informed opinions and constructive criticism. And I've said, like, this is a problem with X. Here's a proposed solution, you know, that might not be perfect, it might not be whatever, but what, and got so much shit for the better part of fucking a decade at this point, right? It's been like 7 years. And they've actually gone and done what I proposed, either fully or in part, like 3 times, 4 times, between like even simple things like reducing the time to plant the item in the factory.
Yeah.
Down from 30 seconds to like 5, you know, something little, all the way up to here's how you need to design the progression of Arena.
Yeah.
Or something I would think you could argue maybe even more impactful, the recoil, endurance.
Oh, yeah.
All of that stuff. And the times they've listened, they've all been some of the biggest W's the game has ever seen.
I know, it's crazy.
And it's just like, I know I'm beating a dead horse, but like, I told you so, fuckers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you know, like, I told you so.
Yeah, I'm sad like that they don't use the survey tab, because remember last wipe they added the survey tab. You know, they didn't do a single.
I've still never seen it, but I know
they didn't do a single survey last wipe. They added it like 3 months before the wipe, and they didn't run a single one. That was like crazy to me. Like, why even add it if you don't have surveys to run? Anyways, they ran their first one today, and it was like really interestingly generic questions about like, do you play PvE? What's your favorite map early wipe? Do you think Tarkov is hard? Like the questions were all over the place. It didn't feel like they were really trying to get feedback on like recoil. Like, how do you like full auto guns? How do you like semi-auto guns? How do you like SMGs? That's what I would imagine they would want. They'd like niche down to a topic. This was like 7 questions that were just like, do you play Tarkov with friends? What maps are your favorite? So it was interesting. But anyways, it's the reason why I want them to like run more surveys like that, because I know that this is a very slippery slope, and I know that people get really antsy about it. You know what I mean? People get all like weird when it's like, if you listen to the community too much, then they're not making their vision for a game anymore, and they're sacrificing it. But to go back to what you were saying, all of the most hype moments around Tarkov in these past like 18 months were features specifically asked for by the better part of the entire community for years. Like for years, people have been like, this whole recoil system is weird where it jumps up and then it auto corrects. Like, can we just have a regular recoil system? And they're like, no, fine. Yay! And everybody was like, it's perfect. Don't touch it. You know what I mean?
Well,
and like Arena was like, everybody was like, we need just custom presets. And they're like, no. And then they're like, yes. And then everyone's like, this is sick. So I don't understand why they don't like understand that and lean into
because
that.
It's not as cut as dry though as you are saying, because people might not remember, but at the time, my take on recoil was the minority unpopular opinion. It was a hot take that I got a lot of shit for because I was fucking washed. I was just Remember
I'm not saying you didn't get shit. I think you got shit from a minority group of people that all ganged up on you.
All the big streamers. It was a skill issue.
I don't know.
All of them.
Yeah.
They were all saying how good it was that the recoil was the way it was, and that the endurance needs, like, dude, I'm gonna have to go back and like I'm not going to, because I'm fucking over it, and I know that this is the case because I lived it for thousands of hours. I was told that I was effectively wrong by almost all of the big names that I had conversations with.
Yeah.
No one, like, there were people that they might have said that there were problems.
Yeah.
But completely different than what I was saying and what they ended up fixing that was the W.
Well, they're all silly gooses then. Anyways.
But yeah, I was the thing is that it's never been cut and dry.
Yeah.
When I proposed so many of these things, it was like 50-50.
Yeah.
No one was proposing them, but 50% of some people might have been thinking it and they might not have had a voice, right? But it was really like, no, you're going to make the game Call of Duty if you improve. I mean, come on, you got to remember how many people were like, less recoil. No, but that's what makes Tarkov special is the weapon handling. And you can't have recoil patterns. And if they turn the endurance down, all the people are going to do are they're going to be able to sprint around all the time without, like, that was what everyone was saying.
I guess it's true that,
which is why I made the video, right? I made the video because I'm sick of having to tell people why they're wrong. And I'm sick of having to justify when people tell me I'm wrong. So I make a video in protest.
I mean, it's definitely true that the longer ago you go in Tarkov's history, the more like milsim crowd it was. You know what I mean? That were much more into the realism. And as Tarkov has grown, it's attracted more less of those type of people and more I guess casual players or more Call of Duty players. So what I'm saying is I get that back then there was a higher amount of people that were like, no, that don't change it. Don't turn it into Call of Duty. Whereas today, those people absolutely still exist and they're in my chat all the time, but there's a less percentage of them as Tarkov continues to capture more people. But anyways, all that to say, I'm just glad that they did Arena nice. The only it makes me so sad because we remember we played Arena at TwitchCon. It was before it came out. And we were so rooting for its success because we met the people that made it. We shook their hands. They were so excited. We got to play one match each. So I was yeah, I mean, it was fun, but I don't know. I have to wait till I get home and actually play it. And it was so bad. It was so brutal. And then they were we fixed it and it was still so bad. And so Trey tweeted this out and I agree. It's just if it had launched in this state, it would be a big deal. It would be a big game. Now, like we said last week, I don't think it would be an esport. You know what I mean? I don't think I don't know. Little Team Liquid would have, teams, they'd be running these huge. It's not an esport. Tarkov will never be an esport, but it would be a really, really popular game. And it arguably is. I mean, Berkey, I was in her stream for a little bit and she checked her rank and she was 106,000th rank in ARP. So, I mean, there's a lot of people playing the game.
I was top 30 or whatever at one point. I was bad or top 50 or top 100 or whatever. So, yeah, there's.
Well, that was only 30 people were playing back then. Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah. because I'm not better than.
No, I'm just
most.
kidding. I'm just kidding. But so there's a lot of people playing right now, which is good. Yeah, so it's good. I hope so. Like, here are my hopes. Obviously, coping, just like vapor in the wind, that the sound and the netcode get better. We can talk about that if we want, but it sucks. I hope that they continue to like steamroll this success into like, I am not a good game designer, and I'm sure that there are things they could do that are like really unique to Tarkov that would be really fun. But in addition to those like really unique, cool ideas that I believe people could have, like I believe even some of the people in the community have already had some really cool ideas that I think are bangers. I think there's really easy, low-hanging fruit, because Tarkov is like, and this was our argument for like custom presets, because like Tarkov is like gunplay the game. Like that's what draws so many people to it, is like the gunplay and the modifications and how different the weapons are and feel in Escape from Tarkov versus every other shooter game. So I think there's such low-hanging fruit that could be out there for this game mode. So like a lot of people want like a capture the flag or domination mode. I think the objective mode they added, Blast Gang, like I'm like coming around to Blast Gang, but everybody's been team Blast Gang since they added it. Like they added an objective mode and everybody loves it. It's like the most played game mode by far. So a lot of people want like capture the flag or domination. I think that they go like, dude, gun game would go insanely hard in like last hero mode, where they just like built a bunch of random ones. And like we were talking how fun it would be if it ended with like a cultist knife and you had to get a knife kill. Like a gun game would go insanely hard in like a free for all.
Oh my God, I'd love it.
It would be so fun. And then even just, I mentioned this way back in the day too, but I still think that they should do it. They should have rotating like weekly or daily or every 48 hours or whatever playlists of some of the games. So for instance, last hero mode, you can play last hero mode, but there's like one rotating playlist that's like snipers only, like bolties only.
Yeah.
And then pistols only. It rotates. And it's shotguns only. It's like you don't have to play it, but nobody really wants to go into last hero like just quick scoping with a bolty alone. Like you can swap out of your kit or whatever, but if everybody's doing it, that's suddenly like so much more fun. If everybody has a pistol, that's suddenly so much more fun. So stuff like that could keep people engaged, because every time the new playlist rotates in, people are excited to see what it is. I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit like that, where these types of things have been tried and tested and work really well and people love them. And I think that was almost like it felt like, I don't know if this is true, but it felt like that's what they were afraid of with what became Blast Gang. In their mind, they're like, everybody has a search and destroy mode. That's lame. Nobody's going to like it if we have one. But all of those games, their gunplay and their movement feels exactly the same. It's just like cracked out adrenaline, slide canceling, omni movement with no recoil. The reason people love Blast Gang is because it's a familiar game mode in the most unique gunplay and movement game. So it's like I hope they take that formula where there's like TDM or gun game or bolties only, that kind of stuff that's tried and true and worked in Halo and worked in COD. What will make those things fun is that you're taking it into a very different like movement and gunplay vibe. So I hope that they kind of snowball some of that like love for Blast Gang. I hope that they try to do unique things like in Arena. I don't want to just copy and paste every Call of Duty game mode or lobby and put it in, but it's low-hanging fruit and I think people would really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's gonna, like what you were talking about with like pistols or bolties or whatever. The one downside to the way that they implemented the like preset and balancing sort of thing is that like literally from the start you can be wearing like class 4 or 5 armor and have like Even
Yes.
just like an M53 or M55 or whatever with like flechette, and you're like 1 or 2 tapping literally everyone.
Yeah.
So what you're missing is that like early wipe,
Yeah.
pistol round, low eco,
Yes.
you know, the scrappy
Yes.
fun that something like a gun game would have, or if like Blasking had, and I'm not
An
saying
economy,
they should,
yeah.
but an economy where it's like you pistol round and then maybe a save or buy SMG or
Yep.
like, you know,
Even-
scout kind of rifles.
Even just they did the hard work. Do you know how cool it would be to have a playlist that rotates in where it's like, you know how when you create a preset, it's the MP, the meta points,
Different ranges.
just put it down. Like right now you can't, I haven't checked for sure, but in a lot of the presets, like you can't put on a P.A.K.A, I don't think. Like a lot of the times it's like level 4 armor is like the minimum you could go. If they added more of the like bad armor and ammo and headsets and stuff like that, they could do playlists where the MP for your presets for this playlist are like half. And now all of a sudden you have to run, you know, that kind of eco stuff. And I think something like that would be really cool too. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you on that.
Or with like, and this is kind of what, you know, similar to what I had recommended in my like 50 ways to improve Arena, you know, back in the day.
Yeah.
As a hybrid of what they have now is, imagine if when you played Blasking, round number 1, imagine you had tiers where it was like you tiered presets where your tier 1 preset, everything was much lower. You could have a pistol, maybe some class 2 armor and like a, you know, a helmet or whatever, all the way up to like unlimited. And it was like the first round you pick your tier 1 kit, the tier 1 preset. The second round you pick your tier 3, the third round, you know, or maybe it's a couple rounds of each thing so that it mixes it up.
Yeah. For sure.
Because like this would split up matchmaking too much.
Yeah,
they would have to do something
that is the
differently.
worry for sure.
But like imagine if you could say, I want to queue up for free for all with tier 1. Like there are some people who like, I'm the best in the world with pistols and no armor.
Yes.
I'm the best in the world with like no restrictions. You know, it's like the Olympics where you can take steroids kind of thing, where it's just Alton, whatever, you know, HK, meta, ammo, everything, right? No limitations versus restrictions. Yeah, I mean, I just think that'd be cool,
at the very least, because Hambino always brings this up too, because Hambino, he talks about, he's like, he comes from the land of queues. He's a PUBG main for a really long time. And he was saying that that's like a big part of what killed it is that there's like solo queue, there's duo queue, there's trio queue, there's squad queue, there's ranked, there's unranked. And he's just like, nobody's in any of the queues. So I'm always team like, we should add like 12 different, you know, game modes and lobbies. And he's always like, yo, call it down. At the very least, bro, what we need 911 stat is them to flesh out custom game modes. The custom lobbies, because they're in. I pulled up Arena right now. I have the thing. If I go to last hero on a custom game mode, do you know what I can adjust as the maker of this custom lobby?
No.
Set player skills level. That's the only.
Oh yeah.
That's it. Do you know what I want, dude? I want to be able to go in and create 5 presets myself. And if you join my custom lobby, you're forced to use one of my 5 presets. And I'll build 5 pistol bolty only ones. And like, I'll try to make them a little bit different. You know, this one's got an optic, but no armor, or like a red dot, but no armor. This one has iron sights and class 3 armor or whatever. I would make my whole life. I would want to be the custom games guy. I would want like, what's Jesse's new custom game? He drops one every Sunday. Like, I would make my whole life that if I was able to do that. And that way you don't have to have it as a separate mode.
You also don't have to take things seriously. Like,
exactly.
You're not, because there are people in Trackmania, I forget the guy's name, but every, like, either it's once a week or every stream, what he does is like, there's some crazy user made map that he has like all of his viewers get on, and he literally spectates and like basically like hype
I wouldn't even
casts.
I wouldn't even like, play. I would just want to make the things and then watch and run tourneys and stuff like that. So that is like a really, really, really easy way for them to add some of this in, and then you could get like community favorite ones that maybe get rotated in as like full lobbies temporarily, like on the weekend. There just Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's a new like last hero lobby. So that way you don't split it too much. But yeah, there's just no like a Blast Gang custom preset. I can turn off and on the kill camera. I can set the level. I can decide if there's overtime, how many matches to win, and allow duplicate presets. That's it. Like, so that would be an insane thing for them to do, is add, just flesh out the custom, and oh my God, let the community go. Let the community go crazy with it. But once again, this is not like frustrated criticism. This is like, keep the ball rolling. You guys, for the first time since this came out, you have positive momentum. You started with 1 million people interested in your game, and from the second arena went live, it was only going down. They were hemorrhaging interest like crazy. For the first time ever, they turned it around, and I just want them to keep doing it. One of the things a lot of people talk about is the maps. Once again, I have basically no room to talk about this because I don't know what a good objective-based game mode map looks like. CS, Valorant, even the Call of Duty maps. Like, I know like map design is a thing people are really like passionate about with these like objective-based game modes, and a lot of people are saying that the maps they just don't feel good for these type of game modes. That's all. You know, I basically defer to your guys' judgment on that. I'm not sure. But that it's a criticism I've seen enough that I think it's worth bringing up, which I assume that they can do by just continuing to like adjust the maps that they have, or I'm sure that they're planning on adding more maps. They can kind of keep doing that, but I like the new map that they added for Blast Gang. It's like in the train yard or whatever, like the indoor one. It's that one's pretty cool. So yeah, so I don't know about maps, but it's that's something that people talk about. But overall,
brother, the audio is my problem.
Yeah,
is my problem, dude. It's
bad.
It's worse than I ever remember in a completely different annoying way.
Okay.
And we talked about this a little bit on the Patreon.
Oh yeah.
And I've been told that by folks that I like trust, like Uneventful, who says they think that maybe you'll share your opinion. That says that the audio in Tarkov is distinct from the audio, like they're not the same.
Yeah.
What he described was like, you'd have a lot more silent footsteps and like kind of the more stereotypical sort of issues with Tarkov audio in Tarkov proper. In an arena, my biggest issue was the filtering that they do to seemingly indicate that people are like indoors versus outdoors versus behind you versus above you. In my opinion, it not only is it misleading, ambiguous, confusing, but it's just annoying. Like imagine if when we were having a conversation, like literally every 2 seconds I would just be talking like this, and then all of a sudden this would really get on everyone's fucking nerves if all of a sudden half the time I'm sitting here like this and then the fucking audio's changing, and then it just like when someone crosses over the threshold into a massive hangar where the doorway is the size of a plane, right? And you're 3 feet away from them and they step over the threshold. Now all of a sudden their footsteps are muffled.
Yeah.
It's like if I have my back turned to a hangar and I hear muffled footsteps, I assume they're like 1,000 fucking feet that way. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Or like upstairs or whatever. Not they're close enough to grab my ass.
Yeah.
And so it's not only is it misleading, but it's a fucking annoying because you just hear footsteps and
Yeah.
and gunshots that feel like you're constantly. I think I talked about the whole Saving Private Ryan.
Yes.
Where the fucking intro scene where it's like his head goes under the water, comes up, goes under the water, comes up, and then he gets all like lightheaded and his ears are ringing. That's what it feels like all the time.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, what the fuck is this sound the whole time?
Yeah.
So I'm just distracted and annoyed. And that just made me like get kind of fatigued
for sure
so quickly that that was the one thing that just made it so that like I just don't feel like playing anymore.
For sure. No, well, there's that, and what you don't have is like what I have, which is the like I'm making money. Like you're like you have 2 million rubles, you couldn't spend all that because like to unlock stuff in Arena, it's cheap. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're always making money every time you win a round. Every time you play a round of Last Hero, you're making money. And so it's like from where I'm sitting, I'm going to be playing Tarkov or this game. So I'm having a lot of fun playing this game and progressing in Tarkov. From where you're sitting, you're like, you're choosing to play this game because you like want a good, fun experience. And so those things I can totally understand are like more of a detriment to your experience because you're like, damn, like this could be so fun if the audio was there. Yeah, I totally feel that. Yeah, it's dude, it's sad because like I don't know. You know, we were told, or at least I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't know if we were told this or we just inferred it, but they had this whole other team that was making Arena, and the hope was that like they were going to unspaghettify the code because they were going to kind of use this opportunity to make Arena to like make it better and more organized. And so it's sad to see that the audio is just so bad and the netcode is just so bad. Like the desync is pretty crazy, Zorping all over the place, people teleporting that aren't cheating, just legitimately like Zorping around. It is sad to see that because, yeah, I don't know, just because I would have hoped that they took what they learned from Tarkov and made that like the number 1 and number 2 priority. And they are seeming to really struggle with that. So hopefully it only gets better. I don't really think it will. Like I've come to grips with the audio in Tarkov and the netcode will like never get better than they are right now. I just have to believe that. If they do, I'll be pleasantly surprised. But, you know, this is the whatever, you know, the 5th time they've completely redesigned the audio in Tarkov and shit's just busted left, right, and center. You know, and now it's like some of those changes didn't come to Arena. So Arena audio is broken in a different way than Tarkov's audio is broken. So if you're going back and forth between the games, you can't get used to anything.
Yikes, dude.
It's sad. But I don't know. I don't know what they can do at this point. You know what I mean? Like fix it. I don't know. Just fix it. But, and then the other thing they got to do, bro, is they got to let me launch that shit from inside of Tarkov.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus, dude. Like, let me launch that shit from inside of Tarkov. It's like the launcher should be there because you can buy Arena and not buy the main game, and you can play Arena. And you can buy the main game and not buy Arena. So, like, the launcher should be there so that you can launch both games. But if I have both games and I'm in one game, let me click button. You know, in the bottom right, it says PvE. Right now in the top right, it says Marathon. In the bottom left, just let it say Arena, and I just click it. Because it's like, I go to Tarkov, you know, I check my hideout, I close the game, I open Arena, I accept my dailies, I do something, I get a daily done, and I get a rare weapons case. And I want to for my daily in Arena. So I want to see what's inside it. So I transfer it to Tarkov. I close the game. I open Tarkov. I start the craft because you get a rare weapons case from Arena, right? And you send it to Tarkov. When it's in Tarkov, you then have to initiate a craft at Workbench level 2 to unlock it. So then you initiate the craft, and while it's crafting, you close Tarkov, you open Arena, you play another round. Now you want to see what's in your thing, so you close Arena, you open Tarkov, you open your case, you close Tarkov, and you open Arena to go back. It's madness, bro. It's madness. So it's like,
yeah,
dude,
that's so fucking annoying.
let me launch the game from inside the game, please. Yeah. So, but once again, that would be such a great like quality of life steamroll. Let's keep the positive vibes going. You'd get so many more people checking it out. You know what I mean? Like, it would just be so sick if I got one tapped right at the beginning of a raid to just like hop into a last hero real quick while Ham and Velian finish their raid. You know, it would just be so much better. So yeah, I hope they keep steamrolling it. The only other thing like is the arena has played a really interesting part in a conversation right now about like the Tarkov economy, because you have
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna ask too.
yeah, because you have players having the ability to make like in Last Hero, you can make like 200,000 to 300,000 rubles per game, and I think they're like Last Hero games are like 7 minutes long. I don't remember how many minutes long a Last Hero game is, but the thing about Last Hero is that it's consistent. Like in a blast gang or a team fight, if you guys are tied, it's 10 minutes. If you guys are tied, you know, you go into overtime. You know, if you play ranked, in ranked, it's 1st to 7, whereas in unranked, it's not a set time with blast gang or team fight, but with Last Hero, it is 10 minutes. Boom. So every 10 minutes plus queue time, which is a good point. You got to queue, but every 10 minutes plus queue time, you can make 200 to 300K, and then you can send 1.5 million every 24 hours, and which means, I mean, you could play, you know, 1 or 2 days of arena and then just have like 10 days worth of money to send over, right? Millions and millions and millions. You get the GP coins as well, XP transfers, and you can get like, I would say 7 to like, I think in ranked, it's depending on how you do. If you lose, I think you get XP, but you don't get money. But in Last Hero, I think you get XP no matter what. And you set, you know, that all that sends over. And then it's a complicated conversation because it's all linked with the fact that also this wipe, the flea market is not found in raid. They left that off. So it's like the whole economy is just scuffed because you have people, you know, dying with stuff in their secure containers and listing it. You have the full blown, like way back in the day, patch 11 flea market arbitrage, where the people who are at high level are just buying ammo on reset off the flea market, off the traders, and selling it for double on the flea market. Mm-hmm. And you have a large portion of the community sending millions of rubles every single day from arena. So it's like the economy is scuffed. Now I'm free, Veritas. I'm free. I don't care. Like, people ask me what I think, and I'm like, yeah, the economy's scuffed, but like, I don't care. I don't know what they should do. There's so much information. Like the arena thing is new. The no find and array flea market is new for the, I mean, new as of like, it hasn't been like this in many years. I don't know, man. I don't know what they should do. I don't care. It's a short wipe. Maybe they're messing with the economy on purpose. I'm just having fun, but it is worth talking about because it is one of the biggest things that people are talking about right now. So it definitely seems like a lot. The arena, it seems like you might make a little too much money in arena. And one of the things, this was one of the things Nice Guy figured out that they didn't factor in. It doesn't appear that combat related skills level any slower in arena. So when you think of like the recoil control skill is not in Tarkov anymore, but like when you think of the assault rifle skill, as it levels up, it adjusts your like horizontal recoil with assault rifles. Okay, so you get less horizontal recoil with assault rifles. How much time do you spend shooting in Tarkov versus Arena if you played 3 hours of each game? It's an unreal difference.
I mean, yeah, it's
10x. You spend 10x more time holding mouse 1 in Arena in a 3 hour.
More than 10x. 10x.
But you level at the same pace, it seems. So like, Nice Guy got to level 30 in Tarkov. Like, he got his character level to 30 without playing a single Tarkov raid. It was all Arena. And then he started asking some of the grinders, like Vibin and the guys that are right now like level 55 in Tarkov, like on the Kappa quest.
And they probably have much lower skills.
Much lower skills. He was asking them what their skill levels were, and he was making he had much higher skills, like not attention maybe, but a lot of the combat skills, strength, endurance, some of the gun skills and stuff like that. So it's super interesting. It definitely needs to be adjusted, but I'm not here to like wholeheartedly advocate for like one direction or another that adjustment needs to go. I'm hoping that they're just collecting a lot of data, but the economy in Tarkov is sufficiently like scuffed.
Yeah.
Scuffed.
And the flea market is still, you said, not found in raid?
Correct. So you don't
God, dude, there's never in history been like a scenario where we've ever just had like a wipe that starts with the right combination of like scarcity and trader stuff and flea market and whatever. It's just always been we're gonna make a tweak 98% of the way through a wipe when it doesn't matter, and then just keep it after the fact. Not actually learn what the results of the changes are. There's no like cause and effect analysis.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then at some point someone will say, I don't like the current situation. You should change X when X may or may not be the main factor behind it, like.
And we've talked at length in the past about like how they could fix the found and raid problem. You know what I mean? There are a lot of things about the no found and raid flea market I really like personally. But there are a lot of things I don't like. And there are a lot of things that I feel like, so, because basically like my big gripe right now isn't even with the flea market itself. It's that questing just got like shit on when it was never the problem. Old school Tarkov, if you needed to turn in a found and raid power cord, you could, old school Tarkov, if you just needed to turn in a power cord, you had to go into a raid and find a power cord. And if you had that power cord, you could shove it in your secure container. And if you died, you could still turn it in. The flea market came and people were just buying everything they needed to turn in off the flea market and then turning it in. So then they added found and raid. But what the found and raid mechanic did was it didn't return, if questing was a C difficulty, as that's how hard it was C. The flea market came and it was at an A. It was like super easy, right? When they added found and raid, it didn't bring it back to C, it brought it to F. Because now, if I found the thing and stuck it in my butt and died with it, it wasn't found and raid. So questing got more difficult. And here we are 2.5, 3 years later. They got rid of the found and raid for the flea, but questing got left out to dry. And I know everyone will be like, you can just craft power cords, but you can't craft everything you need. And so it was like, the questing was never the original problem. Nobody was mad at how hard or easy those quests were. It was the flea market came and fucked up a bunch of stuff. And then they tried to fix it, and they fixed it horribly. And this mechanic nobody was complaining about at the time got much harder. And now all these new people are in, and me trying to advocate for this mechanic going back to the way it was. Everyone's like, oh, you just want this game to be Call of Duty. And it's like, no, I don't. You can do it both ways. You can set it up, which we talked about your idea where like you just add more flags. You can set it up in a way where you can't buy items off the flea market. But if you found it in raid and die within your container, you can still turn it in. Like that's not hard to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so there's a bunch of stuff like that where some stuff got caught in the crossfire and they never made it right. Like they just made an experience more difficult and more lame, and then they never fixed it. But the other experience where it was like, I always hated the idea of people just buying stuff off the traders and immediately reselling it for more money, but that's back. But I can't shove a CPU fan up my ass and die with it and turn it in for a quest, but I can buy 5.6A1 off the trader and then sell it for double on the flea. So it's sad because like in the grand scheme of things, fixing it is not that hard. Adding a few more flags and just making them relatively nuanced, like things so that if something is purchased off of a trader or the flea market, it's got its own flag. If something was generated in a raid, even if you died with it, that's got its own flag so that the quests can be like, hey, give me an item that you found in raid. And that excludes things purchased. Like it's not that hard. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not big pro or against. I'm not hugely for or against the found and raid flea market. Both sides have their issues, right? I'm for just like a more elegant solution. It's exactly what we said before. Your solution that you came up with isn't even a solution to found and raid, where you're like, this should be found and raid and this shouldn't be. You should turn this in for a quest. It's more like just get a bigger tool belt than hammer. And with that, you can decide, BSG, what you want to be easy, what you want to be hard, what you want to be simple, what you want to be complex. If you have a whole toolkit, you can kind of decide where you want it. And they're like, no, hammer smash. And it's like, okay, well, fuck me, I guess. I don't know. So, yeah. Yep. But it's pretty scuffed. It's pretty scuffed. But once again, I'm having fun. I'm loving sending 1.5 million rubles every day over and just plowing through my hideout stuff with the money. Like, you know what I mean? They definitely turned down, like one of my biggest complaints has always been like the whole game is just about like itty bitty trinkets, like Bitcoins and skulls. Like I found 2 Bitcoins the whole wipe. Whereas like I'm normally finding 2 a day on my scav raids on streets. Like they absolutely nerfed the like ground loot that were just like individual several 100,000 ruble items. That stuff
is that a good thing?
I mean, it's like it's a thing. You can't tell if it's a good thing or a bad thing because of all the other changes that have come to the economy. So like it would have affected the economy if all other things remained equal, but it hasn't really affected it. I think it's a good thing because I think those things should have a rare chance to spawn. Like, I think you should every once in a while get a Bitcoin or a LEDX out of a duffel bag. You know what I mean? That'd be crazy. But I think in general, those things should spawn either in locked rooms or, whatever, more frequently than out and about. Whereas a year ago on streets, you could find, 2 Bitcoins and 3 skulls every scav raid. It was crazy. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I feel like there was something else I was going to talk about in reference to the economy, but I can't remember it. I don't know.
Well, all I can say is I'm about to send you something.
Oh God.
Just because I've only had a couple minutes. But naturally, my ADHD sent you a picture. That's just what I could find in, like 10 minutes. For context, I sent him. I'm not gonna like call anyone out or whatever because like yeah. But those basically were pictures of tweets and responses from people that were effectively kind of saying like recoil feels fine or I don't think it needs to change or it shouldn't go back to the way it was. Why do we even change it? Or and then there's a couple examples. I only had one there where people were saying like this is an unpopular opinion, but recoil needs to change. It's like, yeah, it was an unpopular opinion. It really genuinely was overwhelmingly unpopular. It wasn't until like the last like month, like really getting close to me finishing my video because I had been like soapboxing about recoil for so long that a lot of people were listening. And then a bunch of people were coming out and basically like, agreeing. But yeah, there were just too many times where like I tweet about how I hate the recoil and, this streamer or that streamer would be like, bro, it's fine. It's like, oh my God. I'm not crazy.
No, I believe you. I believe you. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Oh, that's actually, it's so funny. It was yes, this was the other thing I was going to talk about with the economy. You know what I haven't seen a single of this wipe? Hatchet Runner. Not one. I almost tweeted this the other day, but I'm so over Twitter that I didn't, because when they changed the flea market to non-found and raid, like halfway through last wipe, whatever it was, there was like it was after the Unheard drama, and Nikita was on his Twitter bender, and like people were like, let's try it, and they did.
Unhinged.
Yeah.
Unhinged, Unheard.
Yeah.
The Nikita Bunyanov
story. When they
wait, no, can we talk about how that needs
Unheard,
to be his, unhinged, comma unheard,
the Nikita Bunyanov.
The Nikita Bunyanov fucking story.
Unhinged, comma unheard, colon. Yeah.
Sorry, okay, I just had to get that.
No,
out.
I love it. One of the things that I bit my tongue on was they changed it to non-found and raid, and so many people were like, here come the Hatchet Runners. The Hatchet Runner apocalypse is coming. And I bit my tongue because I used to think that exact thing. I was like, Hatchet Runners was one of the biggest reasons they added found and raid. And then on the podcast and through various other conversations, I completely flipped. I was like, no, I don't think even if they switched it, Hatchet Runners would come back. But they switched it, and everybody was like, the Hatchet Runners cometh. You know what I mean? And I was like, I don't think so, but we'll see. And then there were no Hatchet Runners. And then those people were saying, we'll wait until the wipe. The reason nobody's Hatchet running now is because we're already halfway through a wipe. Everybody already has money. Wait until the wipe. So I was like, okay, let's wait until the wipe. Now, I'm not saying no one that plays Escape from Tarkov Hatchet runs. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is I haven't run into a single guy Hatchet running. And I saw somebody say it. I don't even think it's because of tagged and cursed. I genuinely, after all these years, don't understand how that mechanic works. Every single wipe, when I'm doing pest control, which is that stupid quest on reserve where you have to kill 10 scavs in this like very specific building, every single wipe when I'm struggling, somebody goes, dude, just bring in a pistol, you'll be tagged and cursed, and they'll come to you. And every wipe I do it, and every wipe, no scav ever comes to me, and I sit naked with a pistol every time, 10 out of 10 times. So I don't know how the tagged and cursed mechanic works. I can never get it to work when I want it.
On what map?
Reserve.
That's probably your problem. I have a feeling that there's like a radius around you that like is like, it's gravity, it's magnetism. It's like when you get in a threshold, the scavs will like aggro to you, because you know how many times I've spawned in like glass hallway and I get like pinned down, or not pinned down, but like I know someone's back spawned behind forklift or whatever, and I'm like, throwing nades or whatever, and then I turn around and 9 scavs come sprinting in, only for me to find out that the guy in the back room is a hatchling, and the tagged and curse ended up getting me killed. But yeah, I honestly, now again, I've been out of the game for a while now, but I literally like don't remember seeing any Hatchet Runners. Like systematic Hatchet Runners, like there were in like 0.08, where it's like you'd go into factory and like late wipe factory, and 4 out of the 5 PMCs were Hatchet Runners, like almost every game.
Yeah.
Since like the Mosin got added in like 1997, I don't remember, because there was like no real reason ever once the Mosin got added to like be a hatchling.
Yeah,
because it was like. Not that I think that solved hatchlings. Yeah. I think there's a bunch of things that like all.
I think there's a bunch of things. 100%. I think it's a bunch of things.
I think a huge part of it, a huge part of like why people hatchet ran in the first place wasn't even necessarily because they struggled to make money. Because I know so many of them who like had plenty of money. They had more money than me.
Yeah.
It's more that people are loss averse.
Yeah.
People don't want to. It's like they get stuff, they put it on their character, they get out, and then they put it in their stash and they go out.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll never lose anything if you don't take anything in with you. So it's like if you could play blackjack and you could put down $1 million and double your money or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Or you could bet nothing and win pennies.
Exactly.
You'd have 10 million more players that would all just be playing for pennies because it's like free whatever.
Yeah.
So even if you've got a bunch of money in the bank, people don't like to gamble. They don't like to lose things, and they don't want to have to worry and take it seriously. And so that's why I think a lot of people hatchet ran.
I think it's a combination of a bunch of things. I think it was a different time in the game. Like, I think you're absolutely right. There were a group of people that was it was loss averse was the name of the game. I do think that there was a group of people back then that hatchet ran because they were poor and because it was one of the better ways to make money. I think there was a group of people that were just like newer to the game. Like, I think it all coalesced at that time where like, because that was like 2019, 2020, where we had 2 million new Tarkov players as a result of the drops. It was the most hardcore FPS game, maybe still is, but it was the most hardcore FPS game by a mile at the time. There were 50 less ways to make money. The hideout didn't exist for quest items. Like, it was a completely different game. And so I think you had all of those players doing all of those things. It was just like the de facto thing to do. If you needed money, if you hated losing gear, if you like had a bad day, run a few hatchet runs. Like, that was just the thing to do. And I think each of those individual holes have gotten plugged where there's like more AI scavs, which make it harder to do. There's a tagged and cursed mechanic, which I don't doubt is in the game. I just don't understand how it works. Now we have like the AI scav hordes where like literally today on streets, all of the sudden, I think there were like 14 scavs on our location. It was like 4 spawned in each other this way, 4 spawned in each other this way. There's like, it's an actual mechanic. It was like a wipe or two ago they added it where it's just like a scav horde. They all spawn. There are more ways to make money. You can craft things you need for the quests in the hideout. And more people are just more familiar with the game and are more confident in their abilities. And there are more cheaper, amazing guns than there have ever been. The Mosin almost single-handedly replaced hatchet runners because it was mad cheap and mad effective. And there's
30K and you take out someone who with a 1,000,000 ruble kit in one shot.
There's 18 of those now. There's the Vepr Hunter. There's the Mosin. There's the SVT. There's the AVT.
And all the pistols.
There's so many more pistols. And on top of that, they've made good ammo, which I think is a great change, by the way. All these changes are good changes. They made good ammo spawn found in raid, which didn't used to be a thing. You had to level up the traders. Dude, you want to know something? I was doing today. It was the most quintessential. I was almost mad Velian was there to like save me or to help me. It was the most quintessential Tarkov thing. I was on factory today with a Zabralo and a Kiver doing that quest that they added last wipe called the Good Times, because it was like hella XP and it's kill 10 people on factory with a Zabralo, a Kiver, and an M4. Okay. I just killed.
I forgot. You just reminded me of that. That is such an incredible quest.
It's a great quest, dude. It's a great quest. I just got my 10th kill. I finished the quest. I rounded the corner. I said, I think this guy had a buddy. Click, dead. I fall over dead. And I immediately got mad because I was like, oh, that guy hit me in the neck. The neck hitbox sucks. It turns out he was completely naked on factory with a grotch, but he had found some PBP, which is the highest pen 9mm ammo, and he top-headed me one click with a grotch, completely naked. And I had a Zabralo and a Kiver and a juiced M4. And I had finished the quest, and I was almost mad Velian was right behind me because Velian killed the guy. Because I was like, you kind of earned that kit. You know what I mean? And so going back to the hatchet runner thing, because you can find good ammo in raids now, it's all the more reason to load 5 PvP at the top of your grotch mag and bring a grotch, because money's easier to make than it's ever been. A grotch is super cheap and you got a few good rounds. What if you hit it big? If you had a hatchet, you can't beat me there, right? So I once again agree. I think you're absolutely right that there was a large section of it that was just completely loss averse. It didn't matter that they had 50 million rubles. But I think all of those things together created why people hatchet ran so frequently back then. and every single one of those holes has been plugged by separate mechanics, that the found and raid, which is kind of what people thought fixed the hatchlings, it's not there, and there are no hatchlings. Now, once again, like, that doesn't mean, like, there were never no hatchlings. Like, if you think that there are still hatchlings because you saw one in a raid, like, there have always been some people that were going to do it, but it's not the apocalypse that people prophesied was going to be as a result of them leaving off found and raid this way. You know what I mean?
No.
So, yeah, it's funny. Even just like listing them right then, I didn't even really realize how many small changes have been made over the years to really incentivize you to bring a weapon. And there's so many of them now. There's so many reasons.
Yeah, and there's a million other reasons too that, like, you know, if there's a million hatchet runners back in, 2018, all of these things, like this one removed 50 of them. This one removed 1,000 of them. This, like, I agree. I remember watching, some of my favorite streams back in the day was like Sequisha doing hatchet runs. He was more than capable, more than good.
Yeah.
It was just
content too. Yeah.
The 0 to hero was just fun. You had no way to get quest items like gas analyzers.
Yep.
Other than just going to the spots where you thought they spawned 800 times in a row.
Yep.
There was no flea market. There was no crafting.
Yep.
So it was just like the most efficient way is to spawn in, run to the filing cabinet, check it, reset.
Yep.
There was no healing. There was no downside.
Yeah.
So it was just like, if there's a 2% chance I'm going to find it in a drawer, on average, I need to check it 500 fucking times, 50 times or whatever the number is, right? So people just do the math.
That's such a great, like, add it to the pile. That's such a great additional point where those items now are findable in so many more spots. So, like, it was funny. I was reminiscing. I was playing with Geeks the other day, and he was looking for a flash drive, and we were looking filing cabinets. I always find all my flash drives in filing cabinets now. I was like, do you remember when it was the tent on Woods? That was the only reliable place to find flash drives.
And you ran faster with a hatchet.
Yes, back then you did.
So the meta was spawn Woods, insta run to the tent. That was the one place you would get flash drives.
Yeah. Yep. And so, I hadn't even thought about how that's another thing where the more places they allow for quest items to be found, the less meat grindery it is to find any one of them, which means you might be more comfortable bringing a weapon. Because, like, gas analyzers is the same thing. Reserve, interchange, and streets are the top places to find those quest items now because they all have like 400,000 filing cabinets. You can find gas analyzers in there. You can find flash drives in there. You can find labs key cards in there. And so, there's just there's a lot.
Like, a lot of the stuff that you need for quests, the junk, is now just craftable or flea market purchasable, because you can buy the things to then craft whatever, or barter or whatever. So the only reason to go into raids is to make progress on quests that require that you do things like kill people, in which case, being a hatchet runner, you're never going to make progress.
Yep.
But back in the day, the quests were either kill people or find like giga rare random junk.
Yep.
So, and the game was a lot simpler too. When there's 4 maps.
Yeah.
And like, you kind of don't feel like questing anymore or whatever. Dude, man, this is like core memory unlocked. I remember watching Smoke. It took him like a week, dude. In like 2018, it took him a week to find the alkaline. Yeah.
I'm literally on that right now.
Now, again, remember, there was like the only place to find it was like specific rooms in Resort.
Yep.
And I remember he was doing basically what he would do was he would put together like a Vepr 136.
Yep.
Where he would have just a stock 136, and he would put a rail, like a 4-way rail foregrip, and that's it. and he would
piece together.
He would remove the buttstock, remove the dust cover,
Yep.
and nothing on the muzzle, and he would build the gun
Yep.
in the raid. Now, this was also when our survival rates, like good player survival rates, were like 70%.
Yeah.
Because there was less people playing. There was time to kill was longer, so it was more skill based.
Yeah.
So like my fucking survival rate back in the day, I had 30, 40 survives in a row every wipe,
Yeah.
you know, and it was 60+%. Whereas, you know, last time I played, it was in the 20%,
Yeah.
you know, 30%. It was more skill based, and there were less skillful players. It was also a piece of it too. There were not less skillful players, but less. There were a fewer number of players that were just like, you know, like CS mains.
Yeah, the
right?
knowledge delta was bigger. Like, you know what I mean? If you were really good at the game, so many people just didn't know much about the game that you could kind of just stomp.
It wasn't a game that attracted the the Adderall-ridden, like 16-year-old twitchy shooter,
at the time.
High sense, whatever, right? Like at the time, no, it was a bunch of fucking 40-year-old dudes after work. You know, wannabe milsim guys. So it was a lot easier for like someone who was a gamer, you know, like an average gamer like me, to actually like outplay them most of the time. But I remember it took him like a week to find the fucking
the
alkaline for the quest, and you know, it was just so sick that he'd like find a MRS, put the sight on. He'd find a suppressor, pop that on. He'd find a flashlight, put that on, and he would just build the kit. And it was like, man, that's the those are the days.
Yep, those were the days. So it's funny because like in just the past 5 or 6 minutes, we've rattled off like 15 what could be considered smaller changes to the game, not huge like the flea market, that completely changed any one person's desire to do a thing or the number of ways they can accomplish a thing, right? Like dynamic loot, filing cabinets, more maps, ammo spawning in raid, more like all this kind of stuff adds up to really change the experience, which is why I have such a hard time answering the question, like, what do you think about the no found in raid flea? It's like, we're so in the weeds. There have been so many changes over the years. Like, it's not as simple as if they turn found in raid off, it'll be like it was 3 years ago. Like hundreds of small changes affect even as simple, like you brought up, even something as simple as there's twice as many maps as there was 3 years ago. Like that changes things. It really does. And so there's so many changes that I don't know. Like I don't care to like write a script and make a video on it. I think the important thing is they need to figure out what type of economy do they want, right? Because right now, and for a while, we've had the rub of like the old school players that like, I want scarcity. And I'm in that category. I'm not saying I'm not. They want scarcity. They want less stuff. They want stuff to be harder to come by. And you have players that have come more recently that are really used to being able to make a lot of money and get to the like high tier gear. And they want to be able to do that. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like they need to, it's not as simple as flea market, no flea market, found in raid, no found in raid. Those are bigger pieces. Like those are larger pieces than the other pieces, but it's still a 100-piece jigsaw puzzle. Those are the two biggest pieces, but it's a 100-piece jigsaw puzzle. And so that's why I'm so passionate about the other solution, the like new found in raid, where they just add more flags, because it gives them the ability to kind of decide how they want the economy to be and do that in an elegant way. Even if they want it to be a way I don't want it to be, if they want guns and gear and ammo to be more prevalent, not less prevalent, I'd still rather them do that in an elegant way.
Yeah.
Than in a stupid way. You know what I mean? So I just don't know anymore. The game has changed so much. There's so many new things. There's so many new players. There's so many new mechanics. There's so many new ways to do things and get things and craft things and find things that it's just not that simple. And I don't even know what the right direction to go is. I'm just playing each wipe as it is, having fun. The economy's crazy right now, but I've got 13 million rubles. So cool. If you enjoy this economy, sick. If you hate it, then, you know, who knows? Maybe next wipe it'll be completely different. But I just don't, I'm done trying to convince myself or other people what I think the right thing for them to do with the economy is. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know anymore. Like, I'll throw out an idea or I'll make a video and be like, this is an idea, but I don't know. The game is just, it's just changed way too much. Way too much. Okay, too much, not in a bad way. I'm saying too much to have this conversation. It's not changed too much like, oh my God, take it back. I think a lot of the changes have been great. So, I don't know.
Well, I really wish I could get excited about. I mean, maybe like right now I'm also not excited about any games.
I feel it, yeah.
But I'm like looking forward to maybe at some point getting like a resurgence of interest.
It's funny.
In Arena.
So this is a good plug. Patreon.com/thepodcastpod. We do have a Patreon, and on that Patreon we have extra episodes that we do every single week. And in those episodes, we answer questions from our Patreon only Discord as well. And it's funny, this was a question that one of a few that we thought would be better served to talk about here. But somebody asked you specifically, is there a possibility that when Tarkov 1.0 has come and gone and the game is more or less stabilized and transformed into whatever its final form is? I like the way he phrased this question. Would you make a documentary on the history of it? And then I'm going to tack onto that. I think a lot of people's question is like, would you ever just like return to the game? Do you think that ship has sailed, or?
I mean, I could see returning to the game like way in the future.
Yeah.
Like I need to be gone for long enough that like the Pavlovian response I get to all the bullshit is like I've lost that.
Yeah.
You know, that I'm not instantly going to launch the game and mauled about like the menus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like,
you'd probably be there if I wasn't bringing up the opening the wound every week for 2 hours.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, there's a chance I would play it, but like when I'm thinking about that, I'm also picturing a world where like I'm not even content creator anymore. Like I'm picturing like around the same time. It's the same thing when I can't wait to play Outer Wilds again. Still is my favorite game of all time. Like life-changing game. There's like before Outer Wilds, it's BC and AD. Like and I'm like trying to speed run to where it's been so long that I forget most of the game. You know, like there was a period of time where like with the Ocarina of Time, I remembered how to get like the first 3 stones, but I forgot all of the dungeons and all of the temples and whatever after the fact and all of the puzzles. And I'm like, so playing through it again was like almost a fresh thing with a lot of nostalgia. So I'm like waiting until I forget how incredible the game was to then I can play and have some semblance of like that experience again.
Yeah.
I'd almost like it becomes 1.0, the game quote unquote dies. They start making fucking Tarkov 2 or whatever. Everybody's moved on to some Fortnite 7 or whatever, right? Everybody's playing some new shit. And so like you go into raids and it's dead again.
Yeah.
To get that fucking feeling of like it's not every raid isn't a free for all.
Yep.
With all of the aids that Tarkov mechanics and whatever, have. So now in terms of the history, I mean, I made the History of Tarkov series that is at, I don't know, 3 parts or more. I don't remember. It's 3, 4 maybe.
Yeah.
And that goes all the way up until I don't even remember what patch.
I don't remember when you stopped either.
Honestly, it just got to the point where like nothing. I'm sure I'm like wrong about this, and I'm sure people could come up with like bullet points, but like, what? Like, let's brainstorm for a second. What has been the major changes that are like noteworthy?
I feel like you could make an episode that was from wherever you stopped up to today, and everybody argued all the time about everything. BSG still hasn't fixed the audio or the netcode. Like that. That's it. There isn't like a what was great about the first few videos is that like you were able to distinctly show the different like eras of Tarkov.
Yeah, so part 1
Some
was,
years ago we entered the mauled era and we're just still in it.
Yeah.
Like I'm so serious too. Like
popular.
Yeah.
And the average, when something gets popular, it gets filled with average Andys.
Yeah.
And the average Andy is insufferable.
Yeah.
But so like episode 1 was, part 1 was literally covered 2010
Yeah.
to 2017 because the history goes arguably back that far to 2010 to 14 years ago. Part 2 was 2017. Part 3 was early 2018. Part 4 was let's see, I'm trying to find.
I need to
rewatch
rewatch these, bro.
I'm getting like so nostalgic, dude.
Yeah, I need to rewatch them.
It goes up until basically, oh my god. Okay, so yeah, they got rid of the streamer, the press kits.
Oh, the press kits.
When they got rid of the press kits. So I'm looking at 0.9. So 9.2 is like the last.
Oh, okay.
10.8. Wait, the Mosin. Oh yeah, oh my god. The only sniper rifles in the game were the SVD and the SV98. So yeah, when they added the Mosin, which is just way fucking back in the day. Yeah, I mean, they added the handbook. Like, fucking A, dude. Anyone ever use the handbook?
Yeah.
Okay, now I see. So it was through 2018. So that was 10.x, basically. So, like, the last thing that happened was they added the flea market, a bunch of quality of life improvements. Fire rate was linked to your frame rate.
Oh, my God, yeah.
They turned press kits into EOD accounts. There were a bunch of like invincibility glitches, like in factory. Zeroing was tied to FOV.
Oh my god.
The gamma glitch, and then they added the MP7 and the Mosin. I feel like after that, has it just been a couple of maps, a few guns, a bunch of quests? Like, there's nothing.
You could
I don't know. I feel like there weren't major paradigms.
You could make an episode on Streets of Tarkov because of like the hype around that map, them like completely bailing on the map and redoing the map, and then the state that it launched in, they expanded the map. It's like that would be a funny episode just on that, because that's probably the closest thing to like a paradigm shift. Yes, of course, there are lots of other mechanics, right? I'm not saying that nothing else has been added to the game, but they don't seem as distinctly shift. I guess weight system and inertia would be kind of like, ADBC things for both of those. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like people are saying, when are you gonna make episode 5? And
I get it.
I just since I stopped playing, there's been some decent changes, some big changes, but like, I don't know. Maybe fuck it. No, I can't. No, I'm not.
Don't.
I just
wait. Well, and the question was, when 1.0 has come and gone and the game is more or less stabilized, would you ever consider coming back and making a documentary about it? So like maybe way later.
It would be a post-mortem, okay?
Yeah. A post-mortem.
Just like it's like the history of fucking Super Mario.
Yes.
In NES.
That's what we need. We need a 2033 2-hour documentary on Escape from Tarkov from Veritas.
But yeah, for those who don't know, I have a playlist.
The videos are great.
That it's 36 minutes, 41 minutes, 25 minutes, and then the latest one was an hour. I forgot I added. And then in the history of Tarkov, there's one more video, and it's the Escape from Tarkov murders.
Yeah.
It's part of it. I feel like it's relevant.
Part of some history.
It's relevant to the history.
Dude, it's funny. You said invincibility glitches. Have you heard about the Did you hear at all? They patched it pretty quick about the cultist knife glitch that happened this wipe.
Oh God, no.
If you got hit with a cultist knife and poisoned, there's something broke with the poison effect that if you survived, like if you extracted from the raid with the poison effect still on, because that's basically what you have to do. If you don't have an antidote on you, you just have to leave the raid because you're going to die. If you extracted from a raid with the poison effect on, it bricked your account and you can't play raids anymore. And so naturally, what was happening was...
That's like not even the worst bug they've ever had to, which is the funny thing.
What was happening is cheaters, you can buy and sell cultist knives on the flea market. So cheaters were buying the knives and they were stream sniping streamers, smacking them with cultist knives. Like in an hour, it felt like it flew through the streamer community to bring an antidote with you. Because so like Desmond, I saw a clip of Desmond. He spawned into an interchange. Zoop speed hacker smacked him, zooped away. He took a perfect torrent and then DC'd from the raid because it's like now that you used it, if the guy comes back to hit you, you're done. So it's like he uses it and then just DCs from the raid and is like, well, GG's. And so like literally the next day, 36 hours later, they didn't fix it. They took the poison effect off the cultist knife. I guess they don't know why it's happening. So they took the poison effect off the cultist knife. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, if you died while poisoned, it bricked your account. And if you survived while poisoned, it bricked your account. So you had to fix it.
So what was the effect when it said bricked your account? Like what? It would just be like beep beep, like profile doesn't exist or something?
No, I don't know. I think it was like, I don't know exactly what it visually looked like, but you weren't able to, you just weren't able to join any raids on your PMC.
Oh, did you get like in queue and you just never connected?
Maybe. But it was just like...
oh my God, you know what?
Just scuffed. You were just in purgatory.
Oh my God. Like, and days, you said multiple days went by and they haven't...
It took like, it was like 48 hours, something like that.
And then they didn't even fix it. They just hot fixed it with
off,
a temporary Band-Aid. I feel like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Man, people are not good at debugging. That was my fucking like specialty, man, was finding problems, like debugging shit.
Really?
Oh my God. A couple of times I have had viewers who have been like newer programmers that have been like, I'm having trouble debugging this thing. And one time, just from what they were describing in chat, I fucking was able to, I was like, is there something that does this thing? I'm like, look there, you're probably going to find, and fucking, that was the problem.
Hilarious.
And then someone else sent me something that was in like Lua or something, like a language I've never written. I'd never really seen, I've seen a little bit of Lua, but like, didn't know any of the technology. And I just like looked at the code and was able to figure it out. It's like, there's a difference between being able to like build something, being able to get something working, being able to design something, and being able to debug things.
Yep.
It's like, it's you know, it's like when you have a really good mechanic that knows like on these like late model Chevy trucks, they have this thing where the carburetor is whatever, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, the fucking, you know, you got to wiggle the fuel injector because the alignment is on the ball bearings is off on the gas tank, right? And they figure it out because they just have been around the block so many times that they know it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, fucking waddles like a duck, you know? And it's like, if you can't load into a raid, like that should, like, if the problem is that you go to load into a raid and you can't, that should narrow down the problem to like an extremely specific set of causes.
Yeah. And I don't know anything about it, but it was a bad one. Like Desmond sent me the clip and he was like, dude, put a perfect torrent in your injector case. And I was like, oh my God. Luckily, the next day I think was when they hotfixed it. So, but yeah. Yep, it's pretty brutal. Pretty brutal.
Yikes.
Have you seen the Cultist since? I haven't ever seen the Cultist this way. I don't know where people were getting the knives. I mean, I guess it's just people run night raids a lot and they're rare, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much the stuff. That's the Tarkov stuff. That's the arena stuff. Once again, super excited that the momentum has shifted an arena and that it's moving a positive direction. I hope to keep it up.
Next time you play arena, let me know
okay,
because maybe I'll hop in with you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let you know. I might be playing tomorrow for drops, but I'm not sure yet. We'll see because drops are still going on. But yeah, I would be totally down to get some arena in 100%.
Do you have to like sign up for drops or be a part of the thing?
Not
or
for
is
arena. Arena, it's anyone in the category.
I'd like literally rather I'd rather not even play the game when there's drops going on than to play when there's drops and not have drops.
Oh yeah.
Like if I don't have drops, I'm not playing. I'm not going to play and not have drops. That's just such a kick in the balls.
Yeah,
dude.
that would be brutal. That would be brutal. Yeah. But yeah, so thank you guys for hanging. Thanks for being here. Solid stuff. Once again, patreon.com/thepogcastpod. Go check that out. You guys the best. And we will definitely see y'all on the next one.
Remember to wear protection.